The Lakers fight hard, but the win streak ends at 9 in Detroit. How fast can they start a new one? How long could it go? That's next.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks to everyone for joining Locked On Lakers. I'm Brian Kamenetsky with Andy Kamenetsky. The Lakers, Andy, had come into this game in Detroit on Monday night with a 9-game win streak, won 12-13. They've solidified their position as the number 3 seed in the West, but with no Cade Cunningham, at least there was an opportunity for the Lakers certainly to keep the win streak going. Unfortunately, they fall short. It was a respectable battle. Nothing really to get too upset about. Eventually, all win streaks end. This one ends at 9, 113, 110, I should say, the final score. Detroit beats the Lakers, but certainly no shame in what happened in Detroit on Monday.
Yeah, this is not a loss I'm mad about at all. Like, you could be frustrated, I guess, on some level that the Lakers, despite the issues that they had in this game that we'll get into, they did give themselves an opportunity to win. And when that happens, you'll always look back on the things that went wrong, whether you're talking about elements of execution in this game. You know, they lost the turnover battle by just 2. They had 13. Detroit had 11. The Lakers definitionally needed those extra possessions more than Detroit. Like, they lost the 3-point battle 8-11 in terms of 8 makes versus 11 makes. The Lakers shot 28% from 3. The Pistons shot 42. And, you know, the difference in 3-pointers in the grand scheme of things is not massive. But again, when you talk about all of the different areas along the margins or the different individual battles that they didn't win, it all ends up adding up. They missed some free throws. Like, there were different elements that ultimately cost the Lakers, but one of those elements does not include resolve and fight and mental toughness to keep battling. And in a lot of big picture ways, I think that matters most. It's something LeBron talked about afterwards, and it is a continuing trend with this team in terms of the things that have been going well over the last few weeks.
Yeah, I mean, all the same things applied in this game as applied in the previous one. They were clearly fighting uphill, kind of a fatigued and beat up team. In this case, they were, literally, shorthanded. No Rui Hachimura, no Marcus Smart. Marcus Smart's absence particularly felt, something we'll talk about over the course of the show. But none of that changed in between Saturday in Orlando and Monday in Detroit. You could see Luka limping at different times and grimacing. It looked like at one point he was holding, his groin it's been kind of acting up and has been aggravated. I think he briefly left the floor. Obviously came back and played the game, but you could see it in his efficiency, where, yes, Luka finished with 32 points, but it required 29 field goals to get there. It was 3 of 13 from 3-point range. He was 7 of 8 from the line.
Field goal 11 of,
you should say. I'm sorry, 11 of 29 from the floor. So, like, you just, this is a team that looks very much every bit like they're at the end of a long road trip, and have played a lot of games of late. So,
and a lot of good teams.
Yeah. And Detroit, by the way, I understand that there was no Cade Cunningham, but I believe the number I saw was they're now 8-2 without Cade this year, and not just in the recent stretch, but if you go back to earlier in the season when he missed some games. They've played quite well, and Daniss Jankins, who lit up the Lakers for 30 points, has done this a few times for the Pistons in these games, especially when Cade was missing. There was a stretch. It helps to play in a really, really deep fantasy league to learn about guys like Daniss Jankins. But there was a stretch, kind of mid-season where for 6 or 7 games, Jenkins was putting up significant numbers. So that quickness, that offensive ability it's not just the Lakers who allowed him to get loose. Go back, turn around, and we'll talk about it before the end of the show, but go beat Indiana. And this trip is nothing but tremendous success.
Yeah. Daniss Jankins is one of many areas where Marcus Smart's absence was felt, just because I'm not saying he would have automatically shut down Daniss Jankins, but he would have been one of the primary guys defending him. And he's one of the best equipped guys, if not the best, on the team to be assigned to Jenkins while also being able to keep the offense moving, contribute along those lines. If not over the course of this show, certainly during the course of the week, it's worth just talking about the season and impact Smart has had with this team, because it's been, I think, really positive and really important. Going back to Luka and the rough shooting that he had in this game, particularly from behind the arc, you mentioned that he was laboring, and you and I were exchanging texts about this during the game, and this was before we heard Geeter and James Worthy and them in the Spectrum Sportsnet show observe the same thing. I think Michael Thompson and John Ireland might have also commented during the radio broadcast. So it wasn't just us. I also wonder if the physical issues he may have been dealing with in this game affected his shot selection, because this is the first game in a while where I felt like his shot selection was poor. Like some of the threes, he put up 13 threes, which is a lot when you only make 3, but a lot of them were early in the clock. They came off very few dribbles. And I realize this has also been part of a formula and approach during this period where Luka's been on a heater and a lot of those shots are dropping. I understand that. But this game, it felt like at times he was doing it because he wasn't confident in his ability to get past the defender, get into the paint. Like, it wasn't even that Luka had a bad overall game. I thought he competed really hard. He had some defensive moments of disruption, moved the ball reasonably well. Like, it wasn't a disastrous game, but it's certainly the worst he's played in a while. But also, it was
a really bad
game. It was a game where also, though, the shot selection, I felt like, while the offense was generally disjointed and mushy tonight, and it wasn't purely Luka, there were a lot of guys missing shots. Luka's control of the offense and his presence in guiding the offense, he determines a lot of what happens. And it's not surprising that a night where he was inefficient, and again, some of the shot selection issues, that the offense as a whole would reflect that.
Yeah, and look, I mean, it's we already covered the reasons, that sort of thing going. It's worth mentioning too. Detroit plays that incredibly physical style. They were particularly abusive to Austin Reaves. I mean, AR had an over and back call against him where he was essentially punched in the chest and the face, and just sort of lost his balance and ended up back on the wrong side of the half court line, and looked at the ref and sort of shrugged his shoulders. That physicality makes a game like this even harder. I mean, when you look up at the end, we'll get into some of the specifics about individual players and some of the stuff that JJ Redick said before we're done here about this team. If you look at the individual performances, it's still not. It's a decent reflection of what the Lakers have been doing. It's Luka, obviously, with the largest portion of the playmaking pie and the usage pie, inefficiencies notwithstanding. But AR, who played another 40 minutes, again, the minutes continue to pile up for Reaves. He was good again, 7 of 15 from the floor, 8 of 9 from the free throw line. He had 5 assists. He had a block shot. Again, working very hard defensively, 24 points for him. And LeBron, who was scoreless in the first half, still finished 1 rebound away from a triple-double. So 12 points, 9 rebounds, 10 assists for him. Lakers got a little bit of production from Jackson Hayes off the bench. I think if you're looking for somewhere that is continuing to be a potentially worrisome trend. And again, Lakers short 2 important players in this game on Monday. The bench is going to need to produce more. Just generally speaking, they're going to need more consistency out of their bench. You can't get by with, especially now that LeBron is not doing the 30 points a game thing. They're going to need a little bit more from there. But let's talk about what JJ said about their sort of mental state, what this game reflected to him. We'll do that when we next.
Locked on Lakers is brought to you by Indeed Workplace. Chaos, deadlines stacking up, the inbox is overflowing. The one position you still need to fill is sitting open. You need to also feel like the job's been handled because
feel that job. So
there's all the work.
That job.
There's also there's all this workplace chaos and deadlines and inboxes and whatnot. This is where Indeed sponsored jobs is the key. It helps you reach people who actually fit what you're looking for: skills, experience, location. So you're not just hoping the right candidate magically stumbles across your post. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute I'll be talking with you, companies like yours will make 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So you can spend less time searching, more time actually interviewing candidates who check all the boxes. If you need the right person to cut through the chaos, it's a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. Listeners of the show will get $75 in sponsored job credit to help you get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Super important. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs.
Locked on Lakers also brought to you by FanDuel. Tournaments here. It's one of the best times of the year with brackets, buzzer beaters, upsets. It's nonstop action from tip to the final cut down. And right now, FanDuel is giving new customers a way to stay in the action all tournament long. You get up to $300 back in bonus bets every day for 10 days. It means 10 chances to stay involved throughout the entire tournament. You can mix it up however you want, whether game picks, futures, or even same game parlays for bigger potential payouts. It's perfect for the tournament because every day there's something new, different matchups, new storylines, new ways to get involved as bracket unfolds. So visit FanDuel.com to sign up today. That's FanDuel.com to get in on the action. Quick reminder about the Everydayer Club. Go to lockedonlakers.supercast.com or check out the show notes. You can get your first month of the Everydayer Club for free when you use the code MARCH. Unlock free episodes and, more importantly, potentially, ad-free episodes. All the episodes are already free. You get ad-free episodes, which matters to a lot of you, we know, and entry into the private listener group chats where Andy and I are hanging out daily. You can talk to other fans of other shows and other teams and other hosts. So the Discord access that you get here can be pretty cool as well. So again, Everydayer Club, first month free when you use the code MARCH. Check it out. See if it's for you. I've seen in the chat, Andy, as we do the show live on YouTube, that a lot of people are like, how do you let Daniss Jankins do this to you? Go check out the guy's game log. I mean, he's put up 15 or more in a rough count. I did that. You put up 15 or more, I believe 11 times is what I came up with, and 20 or more about 6. Or 5 times. So it's not like he plays 35 minutes a night. And often when he's playing with Cade and other people. The guy can score, and he has lit up some teams at different times. So, it's not like he came out of nowhere, is my point.
Well, again, too, Smart's absence was felt here. Marcus Smart would have been one of the guys charged with slowing Jenkins. Again, I'm not guaranteeing it would have happened, but not having one of your primary, if not the primary guys for an assignment like that, while also maintaining some type of offensive utility, you're going to miss that.
The game itself, though, afterwards, there are times when coaches are annoyed, coaches are angry about, what leads to a loss or the performance of a loss. And there are other times when they aren't. And this was definitely a time where JJ Redick was, disappointed. You want to win the game. You have an opportunity to win the game. It would have been better to win the game, but JJ was particularly focused and pleased with how the Lakers didn't pack it in. Down 16 against a good team on the road, deep into a trip. Showed a lot of perseverance in this game, a lot of mental toughness, and he can. It sounded to me like he looks at a game like this as reflective of the progress that they've made and an indication of what they're capable of when the playoffs roll around, even though they lost.
Yeah, I mean, they fought really hard in this game, and they gave themselves an opportunity to get back into it. They ultimately lost, and we should mention this. They lost on a final play. LeBron inbounded a ball, not a particularly good inbound. And it's a trend of this season, to be honest. There are not many holes in LeBron's game. He's pretty damn good at most things. He has not been a good inbounder this season. And the inbound that he was making was deflected by Tobias Harris. It ends up going at Maxi Kleber, who this was the only literal seconds that he played in this game. It was to be out there to set a screen for Luka, and that's something Maxi can do. He was active for this game.
And it worked.
The only time, it's the only time he stepped on the court. But because the ball was deflected, it actually got deflected at Maxi, who had to kind of deflect it to Luka, and the possession got completely botched. Luka did his best to get loose for a shot. Didn't go down. Lakers lose the game. But the point being, they fought well enough from being down, I want to say 14 in the third quarter, to make this an actual game. There was actually a series in the third quarter that I really liked, just in the way the three best players on this team, Luka, LeBron, and Austin, all played a role in creating an 8-0 run and really starting the Lakers getting back into it. LeBron matched Daniss Jankins' corner three with a wing three. It was the first actual basket LeBron made in this game. He went scoreless in the first half, just the third time in his career, and the first time since 2010 that he had a scoreless half. After that, he blocked Paul Reed in space. The Lakers corralled the ball, and ends up leading to an Austin Reaves three on the other end. Luka then almost immediately forced Tobias Harris into a turnover on a pass in space. It turned into a LeBron transition layup that frankly should have been an and one. And I want to talk about this. The Lakers were clearly getting frustrated by the lack of whistles, but the way they handled it, I thought, is worth mentioning. And then I don't remember which five guys were on the court, but they all went into a really good scrambling defense that forced Tobias Harris to airball what would have been otherwise a 24-second violation. And it was part of an 8-0 run. And I thought it was really great that the three leaders of this team, or the three best players, however you want to put it, were all in the middle of this happening. And I think there's a trickle-down effect from it. DeAndre Ayton and Jackson Hayes both played their asses off in this game. They both played extremely hard. There was no lack of fight in the game. They just were not up for it tonight. But there's a big difference between that and just not showing up. This was not a game where they didn't show up.
No, they absolutely did. And it's just, there's nothing to be that mad about. You're not going to win all of them. And I am much more interested in sort of how they bounce back, both physically and then in terms of the quality of their play. The last game of a road trip is always very, very difficult. I mean, it doesn't matter how long, who you're playing, where you're playing, all that kind of stuff. None of that. So that last game is really tough. And the Lakers should assume, especially if everybody's able to play, at least, their top three players, they out-talent Indiana by a pretty significant amount.
He just snapped a 16-game losing streak. Not a typo, 16.
So, this is a game the Lakers ought to be able to turn around despite the last game of the road trip and all that kind of stuff. And as soon as you go into Indiana and play a professional game and win. I'm not saying you got to blow them off the court by 35 points, although I'm not saying you can't. I mean, if you're so inclined, Lakers, please don't not do it just because, you feel like it's unnecessary. But like you play a professional game, you wrap up the road trip and you come home. That reestablishes very quickly. I mentioned, like in the open, whether or not the Lakers could start another streak, they ought to at the very least be able to start a 3-game win streak just based on who they're playing in the next 3 games with they got through this stretch and now they're rewarded with Indiana, Brooklyn, and Washington. Like that should be the beginnings of another 3-game win streak, which, by the way, if they take care of business in that stretch, it doesn't mathematically lock up the 3 seed, but as long as they don't completely bleep the bed on the way in, it kind of does.
Yeah. When we get back, I want to mention one more aspect of the mental toughness in this game that I think, again, is part of a pattern we've seen from this team. Then we could get into the effect of Marcus Smart's absence. Rui, there was an update on his health that was positive that we definitely want to make sure everybody knows. So we can get into that coming up next. Locked on Lakers is brought to you by Quo. Spring is a natural reset point, and if there's one thing that can quietly cost businesses money, it's messy communication, missed calls, scattered texts, no clear thread of who said what, and that's why Quo, spelled Quo, is the smarter way to run your business communications. Quo is the #1 rated business phone system on G2 with over 3,000 reviews, trusted by over 90,000 businesses. It lets your entire team share one business number so you never miss a call, a text, or an opportunity. Everything lives in one clean thread: calls, text, voicemails. The whole team can see the conversation, so nothing falls through the cracks. It just makes your business feel more organized, more responsive, more streamlined. Make this the season where no opportunity, no customer slips away. Try Quo for free and get 20% off your first 6 months at quo.com/LockedOnNBA. That's QUO.com/LockedOnNBA. Quo, no missed calls, no missed customers.
Locked on Lakers also brought to you by Robinhood. What if sports was traded like markets? Now you can put your sports IQ to work in real time with Robinhood prediction markets. It's not you against the house. It's you participating in a live market. You can buy or sell your positions live all game long. Use your sports knowledge in the moments that matter. Robinhood prediction markets changes the game. It's people moving the action, so when momentum shifts, you can move with it. I always knew the game, but never had a dynamic way to apply that knowledge. Now I can actually take part live in a market powered by people. You're no longer just a spectator, play-by-play. You decide. Trade every play with Robinhood, now available across the U.S. Download the Robinhood app now to begin. Futures and cleared swaps trading involves significant risk and is not appropriate for everyone. Event contracts are offered by Robinhood Derivatives LLC, a registered futures commission merchant and swap firm.
So I mentioned before, or Brian really, we both brought it up, but Brian was the first to, the idea of Detroit playing as physical as they did.
That's right.
And it's typical for the Pistons. That's how they play. It's part of their identity. It's basically, they are the Eastern Conference Thunder. Like, it's what you saw in this game. And I know based on the chats, what I saw following Lakers Twitter on at Cam Brothers, our handle, and just the general discourse, that it felt to a lot of people like the Pistons were playing WWE style prison ball out there, and that they were roughing up the Lakers and that they were getting away with a lot. And I think there's some validity to those complaints. There were some calls that I think the Lakers earned, should have gotten, didn't get. It's another area where I think Marcus Smart was missed. Just the idea that I think the Lakers were up for the battle of trying to match physicality. They are not, though, as naturally physical a team as the Pistons. So missing a guy like Smart matters, just if you're trying to go blow for blow. But Luka, LeBron, and Austin were in particular very frustrated. And again, I think in all three cases, different points in the game, justifiably for calls that they weren't getting. But unlike, say, I believe it was the Celtics game like a month ago, where Boston was the way more physical team and the Lakers spent the entire game whining about it, as opposed to just trying to match Boston's physicality and just dictate the terms and, just engage in the same way. I don't think the Lakers succeeded in matching Detroit's physicality, but they maintained their composure through it. And they did not allow the physicality, I think, to completely throw them off what they were doing. It certainly didn't lead them to just whine and fold up their tents and take their ball and go home. So I thought that in and of itself is a marked difference from not that long ago with this team.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of truth to that. And I think you look at it too. It helps Luka still stuck on his 15 technical. Can't argue.
Sure.
I do think probably 3 months ago is a good chance Luka leaves this game with a T. He can't do it. Be interesting to see if he does pick one up either after the Lakers clinch a 3 or a 4 seed or something like that, or if he decides that maybe I'm not needed against the Nets, or even more so if they have sort of worked out when he might get a game off between now and the in the playoffs. Wouldn't totally shock me to see if him get that 16th technical in a game ahead of a game that he knows he's not going to play. So, we'll see. He'll get the last word in one way.
Then he just gets to yell for the fun of it.
Yeah. And it's not like you don't get thrown out of the game. It's sort of like in soccer. Like if you pick up that second yellow card in a tournament or whatever, you're suspended for the next game, but you don't have to leave the one you're in. So he can, he
gets it out of his system. It's like the game check that he loses, in a lot of ways, it's an investment in his mental health. Like exactly. he gets to feel better about things.
And there's always another one coming, so it's fine.
And it's a write-off.
I don't actually know if that's true. That is a really interesting question for a tax attorney. Are your technical foul fines considered a write-off? Is a missed game check because you're suspended a business expense? Well, I don't know if that's true.
Here's what I would say, at least for the technicals, if nothing else. Though those technical foul fines, because these guys get fined, or same with like flagrants, things like that, the money gets sent to like an NBA CARES program or something like that, which I believe is considered a tax deductible organization. So you may be technically donating to a charity, or at least if nothing else, I would look for an accountant who would view it that way.
Okay. When I just Googled it, and apparently it might actually be, which means
I'm not joking.
This is the silver lining for Paul George. Got a massive tax break coming up on his salary. But according to Google, you might actually be able to make that a write-off.
Yeah. Oh no, I've given this a lot of thought.
Following the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2018, fines and forfeited salaries are generally not tax deductible as unreimbursed employee business expenses.
That was 2018?
Yeah.
Huh. Okay.
That's Trump won during Trump won. So
thanks, Donald.
I never thought about that. That is a fascinating thing. If anybody in the chat is a tax attorney with very specialized practice, please do let us know. There was one other thing I wanted to mention.
Well, in the meantime, while you're thinking,
see if I can remember it.
In the meantime, while you're thinking about it, we can give the update on Rui. JJ spoke pregame, and it. For the exact quote or exact tweet from Detroit. It does not sound like this is going to be something serious or that they're particularly concerned about. Here it is from Dave McMenamin, ESPN. JJ Redick says Rui Hachimura was hit in his right calf in the Miami game and it tightened up on him in the Orlando game. He had an MRI that came back clean. He is day-to-day per Redick. Obviously, with the Lakers and health updates, that could mean Rui is available for Indiana. It could mean that he's out through the playoffs. Like, I will always take Lakers injury and health updates with like a salt lick grain of salt.
Yep.
But given the description of this, it sounds like there's been an abundance of caution here, in part because Rui has dealt with right calf strains this season and in other seasons as well. It's the same calf. And the Lakers training staff, I think, accurately has a reputation of abundant caution. So it doesn't, it doesn't sound that serious, and that's
right. I mean, and the good news about where they are in the standings and another impact of the win streak and all that is they do not have to rush Rui back into the lineup because they need to win games or something like that. That's a good one. You know, you mentioned Maxey played. I did want to point out that Luka was, for the second week in a row, the Western Conference Player of the Week, which gotta figure gives him a leg up to be the Western Conference Player of the Month. So it just, none of these things necessarily matter for broadly, but it is an indication of just the consistency and how well Luka is playing.
Rising up the MVP. I mean, he is rising up the MVP conversation and rankings. And, if you are somebody who listens to more national NBA podcasts and, as opposed to just Lakers centric, and you hear other, ESPN or The Athletic or Locked On Network talk about this, Luka is clearly rising up. The MVP ladder that they do at NBA.com, Luka, the last I checked, was at number 2. He had risen above. Nice. He had risen from 4 above Wemby. So if he maintains this level of production, I still think passing Shea is just going to be a really tall order for him or for Wemby or anybody. But I think finishing in the top 3 is a very live possibility.
Yeah. I mean, as unfortunately with Cade being out, like that does sort of change the math, so to speak, on first team All NBA. Like somebody who should be on that list was going to be left off because there's sort of 6 spots for 5 guys. That isn't going to be an issue at this point. So, all right. So we'll see what happens. Lakers have an off day between the game Monday. It's a short trip to Indiana, which is nice. And so maybe they can get a little relaxation in. Not that much to do in Indianapolis. So, that's also good. They can just sit around and rest. No temptation to go play golf like they did in Orlando. Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where we can go hang out with over 38,000 subscribers to the channel. We'll see everyone later.